Chapter 12. Alex, Bien, and Ive. The apartment where Bienvenu lived with his brothers, Alex, Ive, and his infant sister, Aya, and his mother, Jenna Rose, looked almost exactly like it did the night they arrived from Burundi a year and a half before. The walls were still bare, but for a photograph of Bien that he himself had hung with tape in the living room, as well as a drawing in black crayon on a wall leading into the kitchen. A mural young Ive had started and abandoned, but that had not yet been washed away. There was a TV on a stand in the corner with rabbit ears antenna on top and a VCR underneath, and 3 old sofas around the living room, all items that had been donated to the family by a local church. Visiting Jenna Rose's family meant having a large meal cooked for you. Rice or fufu heaped with cassava leaves, potatoes soaked in tomato broth, beans, stewed greens with sardines, and often fried whole fish or beef in a sauce of onions, tomatoes, and garlic. Though the family rarely had whole fish or beef on their own, fresh meat was expensive and had to be saved for special occasions. First time I visited Bien and Alex at home, I was invited to sit down on a tattered sofa in the living room. Instead of landing on a soft cushion, I hit a piece of wood that hit beneath the fabric. When the boys saw me wince, they laughed. The sofa frame, a family joke, had claimed another victim. Jenna Rose covered the coffee table with a piece of beige fabric and brought out a stack of small plates and a fistful of forks from the kitchen. The boys followed with the food, a large plastic bowl full of steaming rice and smaller ceramic bowls containing helpings of warm cassava, beans, potatoes, and stewed greens. Jenna Rose played play on the VCR, and the screen came to life with the blurry images of a Catholic choir from Congo, singing hymns outdoors against changing backdrops of mountains and green forests. Jenna Rose, who spoke Swahili, some French, and Kirundi, the language of Bujumbura and western Burundi, knew only a few words of English. Alex, 15, the oldest, understood English, but spoke with a thick Burundian accent that, combined with his deepening and sometimes cracking voice, made him hard to understand sometimes. Sensing this, perhaps, Alex was shy and quiet and spoke mainly in Swahili to his family. Bien to his family, was 2 years younger and had picked up the new language more quickly than Alex. Luma had gotten Bien into a nearby charter school that focused on immigrants and refugees. The extra help the school offered had improved Bien's English quickly. He spoke with less of an accent than Alex, and though he struggled with writing and reading, he liked to make jokes, and that gave him the drive to improve his spoken English. When he got hung up searching for a word or phrase, Bien would lower his chin, place his open palm on the crown of his head, and rotate it in small circles. The same motion, I learned later, that Jen Rose had used to soothe him when he cried as a child. Ive, who is 7, spoke English fluently with no accent. His favorite TV show was The Simpsons, and he spoke with a knowing tone that sounded a lot like Bart Simpson's. As the best English speaker in the family, Ive also had to answer the phone and speak with Americans, the landlord, billing agents from the phone, and power companies, who were decades older than he was. Jenna Rose had managed to keep a part-time job as a stocker at a local drugstore for a while, but since giving birth to Alia 6 months before, she had been unemployed. She had no money, she said. Alia's father, in Canada now, and without immigration papers to get into the United States, helped out as much as he could by spending money, and a well-to-do Atlanta woman who helped refugee families as a volunteer with the International Rescue Committee, donated groceries, and helped Jenna Rose make ends meet while she looked for a job. But working would require Jenna Rose to find daycare for Alia, creating a new expense. To come out ahead after childcare costs, Jenna Rose figured she would have to find work that paid $13 or $14 an hour. If such work existed in Atlanta for unskilled applicants who spoke no English, Jenna Rose had yet to find it. Rent for the family's 2-bedroom apartment was $650. Power and phone bills amounted to nearly $200 a month. Food was relatively cheap, but not inconsequential expense. Jenna Rose bought her rice in bulk in large 50-pound plastic sacks from the DeKalb County Farmers Market just down the road. She was open to a job at night, she said. That way, the boys could babysit Aya when they returned from school while she worked, and she could sleep and stay with the baby during the day. It showed how desperate Jenna Rose had become that she was willing to leave her 6-month-old daughter in the care of her 3 sons, ages 7, 13, and 15. While in a refugee camp in Mozambique, Jenna Rose had lost a daughter to a domestic accident. The girl had accidentally knocked over a pot of boiling potatoes and was badly scalded, and Jenna Rose, too poor to afford a ride to the hospital, was left to wrap her daughter's burns with leaves. For a time, it seemed the girl might be fine, but eventually her wounds became worse, and she died. Just 9 years old, Jenna Rose was constantly shooing her younger children out of the kitchen and allowed only Alex, the eldest, to cook on the stove. She feared leaving her children alone, but she had to find a way to provide for them. Jenna Rose hadn't thought that living in the United States would force her to decide between working and watching her children. Like many refugees in Clarkston, she had to put so much of her energy and hope into getting out of a refugee camp that she hadn't thought much about what life might be like after she arrived in a new country. "I thought America would be paradise," Jenna Rose said through BN. "We thought America would be like this," Alex said, pretending to be a magician with a wand and flicking it at the table. "Soda," he said, then flicking the wand again. "Food." BN, Jenna Rose, and I guffawed along with Alex. No worry, Jenna Rose said in her sparse English, raising her hands. "God, very, very good."